everybody, and welcome back to Gaming on Caffeine. My name is Isaac, and we are back for episode 3 of FTB Beyond. And as you can probably tell already, I have been a little bit busy since the end of last episode. I built a new base, which is directly below where our original base was. We've got all of our power coming down from our solar panel up there. And one interesting thing that I did learn about these energy lasers between episodes is that they can actually transfer through objects. So you don't have to have a clear line of sight between the lasers in order for them to transfer power. So for example, all of the power from this solar cell, we can actually see if we go down here a little bit, we've got like a little ledge here. This is where all of the power is coming from. We've got our basic capacitor bank. You can see right here that power is going through the floor, through up and towards this energy laser relay up here, which is transferring power over and to our vertical digger, which I have been using a little bit between episodes. I've been moving it from place to place to get as many ores as we possibly can. And then for now, I've just been manually taking them all out and then putting them into either my small storage crate or into the ore doubling system, which we have in full swing over here on the left. We've also got our oil processing and power generation here in the middle, as well as our atomic reconstructor and our quartz grindstone over here. Crafting table and storage is over there, and then down here in the middle of the room is our empower. And then you can see at the back there we also have the mine that I was using in the early game, just in case I want to go down and do a little bit more manual mining at any point in the near future. But what I want to work on in today's episode is storage, because right now we've got a small storage crate which is doing an okay job. It's storing most of the stuff that we want it to be able to store, and actually putting it next to the crafting station means that we can access all of the items in the small storage crate from within the crafting station itself, which is quite nice. But as you can see, the storage crate is full, and while we could just upgrade it to a medium storage crate or a large storage crate, which would double or triple the storage respectively, I want to start with a little bit of basic applied energistics. I want to jump in kind of at the deep end and get our storage sorted out, at least for the early game. Now, we can't go full on into applied energistics 2, because the way that Feed the Beast have set up applied energistics 2 within this mod pack is they've taken away meteors. So if you remember in 1.7.10, if you wanted to get into applied energistics, you needed to get all of the presses: the calculation press, the engineering press, the logic press, and the silicon press, and these were normally obtained by meteors in the world. But as you can see, it says here in JEI underneath the tooltip, meteorites disabled, presses are craftable. And if we look at the recipes here, most of the recipes are fairly similar. It's a block of iron surrounded by 4 aluminium and then 4 of whatever the press is. So for example, the silicon press requires silicon, the calculation press requires quartz, the gold press requires gold, and the diamond press requires diamonds. Now, unfortunately, we don't have this many diamonds, and so we can't make anything that requires the engineering press, but we can still get in with an early game applied energistics 2 system using the Emmy Chest, which I don't really use all that often because normally I will just jump in straight with an Emmy drive, but instead we're going to work with the Emmy press today, and this thing is fairly easy to make. We need 2 iron ingots, 2 Emmy glass cable dash fluix. This is made with 2 pure fluix crystals and then 1 quartz fiber, which is glass, and some nether quartz dust or some Certus quartz dust, which we can get by putting our Certus quartz crystals into the grinder. We also need 2 glass and then 1 of these Emmie Terminals, and this is where things get a little bit tricky, because for this we need the Illuminated Panel, which is super easy. It's some quartz glass, glowstone, redstone, and iron. Quartz glass is of course just quartz and glass. But in order to make the logic processor and both the formation and annihilation core, we need to get ourselves an Inscriber. Now, to get an Inscriber, we need 2 sticky pistons, and of course for sticky pistons we need some kind of slime or slime equivalent, which is where I'm going to tangent a little bit into Tinker's Construct, because although we could go out and try and find some slimes, or we could even go around and try and find one of the floating islands from Tinker's Construct, I don't think that we have any nearby. No, there are a couple of islands that float in the sky from Tinker's Construct that contain all the different colored slime balls, like the blue one, the pink one, and the orange one. But what we're going to go for is the Congealed Blood, which you might have seen just there in the JEI menu. But Congealed Blood is made by pulling blood out of the Tinker's Construct smeltery, and there are a few ways we can get blood into the smeltery. We can put mobs in there to kill them, or we ourselves can stand in the smeltery and put blood into the system, which is probably what I'm going to do, because it's a nice, quick, and easy way for us to make Congealed Blood. And also, we're going to need the Tinker's Construct smeltery to start making some alloys in the near future, actually probably in the next episode, so we can start working on some of the thermal expansion stuff that I want to start working on. And also, if we want to make some better tools, of course, we're going to need the Tinker's Construct smeltery as well. And so, between episodes, I did go and get myself a bunch of sand, gravel, and clay. I got myself at least 2 stacks of all of those, and so what we can do is we can quickly come over to our crafting station, craft up a bunch of grout, and then we can use that grout in the furnace to get ourselves some seared bricks. Those seared bricks can, of course, then be used to make ourselves a furnace. For now, I'm going to put these in the powered furnace because I don't really see much of a reason not to. And whilst we wait for that, I think we should probably start working on some of the other items that we're going to need in order to make ourselves the Emmy Chest. Now, one of the most important items that we're going to need quite a lot of are these Fluix crystals, and these are made fairly easily by throwing some charged Certus quartz, some nether quartz, and some redstone dust into a puddle, which is basically just any form of water, and then waiting a moment and you'll receive 2 Fluix crystals. So the only thing that we don't really have in abundance on that list is charged Certus quartz, because we've got a ton of redstone, we've got almost a stack of nether quartz, but we've only got 2 charged Certus quartz crystals, but we do have almost a stack of normal Certus quartz crystals, and so the first thing that we're going to have to make is the charger from Applied Energistics. This is made with 5 iron and then 2 of these Fluix crystals, and so you do need to get a little bit of charged Certus quartz before you can start. Thankfully, we do already have some. I think you only need 1. Yeah, because 1 charged Certus quartz crystal will get you 2 of these Fluix crystals, which will allow you to charge as many more Certus quartz crystals as you would like. And so the first thing that we're going to have to do is, first of all, get our bucket, because we are going to need to get ourselves a pool of water. I'm probably going to bring one back. We could just throw all this stuff into a nearby river and then come back, but due to the amount that we're going to have to create throughout today's episode, it probably makes quite a bit more sense to just bring a bucket of water back through and into our base, and then have a permanent place where we can always make more of these Fluix crystals as and when we need them. And so I think, for the time being, I don't have any kind of hatchet. I should really make one fairly soon here, but for now, I'm going to go ahead and just put it right about here. We'll get rid of the dark oak plank. We'll throw down, actually we'll throw it there just to make sure the water doesn't start flowing everywhere. And then now if we throw in our charged Certus quartz, our redstone, and our nether quartz, give it a second. And kaboom, there we go, we got ourselves 4 of these Fluix crystals, and so now all we need to do is grab ourselves some iron, which will be in this chest over here where all of our processed ingots have ended up. Also, the seared brick is coming along nicely here. Let me go ahead and quickly top that up so we've got as much going as possible, and then if we come back over here, we should now be able to make ourselves the charger. Nice. Now, we don't need 2 chargers, we should only need the 1 for now. Now, I'm not quite sure. I was doing a bit of testing in a single-player world, and it doesn't look like Applied Energistics likes the energy relays from actual editions. It doesn't use, like, I tried using the energy relays to power items from Applied Energistics, and it didn't really work. However, if we quickly grab some of these crystals, it does seem to work just fine if I put it down next to the capacitor from Ender.io. And so what I'm going to do real quick here, we're going to go ahead, we're going to throw this thing down right about there, and what we should be able to do, ooh, that's not powering it either. If we quickly open this up, go to configure and set that to output by right-clicking twice, that still doesn't give it any power, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah, that's not going to work. Ooh, okay. What we might have to do here, then, I didn't think that the charger required an energy acceptor, but Applied Energistics does have its own form of energy, and so normally what you have to do is get an energy acceptor and use that to transfer normal energy like redstone flux into Applied Energistics' own kind of energy. Now normally you don't have to do that for the charger, but it would seem that we do have to do it in this scenario, or at least we might have to do it. So thankfully this thing is really easy to make. It's 4 iron, 4 quartz glass, and then 1 more of those Fluix crystals, which thankfully we have a couple spare of. So let me quickly throw in 4, I think it is, of these. I think we need 4 Certus quartz. Oh, we need 5 Certus quartz dust in order to make ourselves some of the quartz glass. Let me quickly grind those up. And once they're all done, let me quickly come on back over here. I think we should have some glass left over from last episode. We do, and we made a little bit extra, wrongly assuming that we could use it for the solar panel from Environmental Tech. Unfortunately, we could not, but that does mean that we can very easily make ourselves an energy acceptor right about here. Now, I think we can use the lasers. I don't know, actually. Let me try this real quick. I haven't tested this specifically. We are going to need the energy acceptor down here for when we set up our Emmy Chest, but for now, let me see if this works. I'm not quite sure if it does. Can I link this to this like that? And if I do that, does that provide power to this? It does not, which is really a little bit annoying, because I think if I was to make myself a second capacitor from Ender.io, let me quickly see if I can whip one of these up. We need a block of redstone. What do we need for all of these? We need some redstone, copper, and golden nuggets. Thankfully, we've still got some golden nuggets lying around over here, and copper we should have a fairly good amount of over here. We do. Good stuff, good stuff. So, let me see here real quick, because I think if I was to go ahead and put this down right next to the energy acceptor, it should be able to receive the power from the laser relay and then transfer it through to the energy acceptor, which will then in turn transfer the power through and into the whatchamacallit, the charger here. So if I was to get rid of this, and then I put down the capacitor bank there, this also, does not fill up with power. Is it dark outside? It is not, so power should be coming through here. The furnace is doing just fine. Let me throw in the rest of the grout. Why is that not receiving power? It is receiving a very, very, very small amount of power there, which is all good, but it should be receiving a lot more because as of right now, we don't really have anything that should be using all that much power. This thing is doing just fine. Maybe I need to set this to output as well? Possibly? That's losing a couple of redstone flux per tick. This thing's also full. This, oh, wait a second. Is that filling up now? Okay, this is now filling up. I'm not quite sure what the heck that was all about. I think because I set one of the sides of the capacitor bank up there to output, all of the other sides automatically just do nothing until I set them to either input or output. So I think that might have been what was causing the issue there. Okay, let me quickly test something then. If I get rid of this capacitor bank and I was to put this down here instead, can this now transfer power directly through to the charger? The answer is still no. You can see at the top there it says 0 RF out of 3 kilo RF. Unfortunately. Okay, I figured out what was the problem. The charger can only receive power from, I think, the top and the bottom. Now, I did test it. For some reason, the energy relay still can't transfer power, even if you put it on the top or the bottom of the charger. But if you put down a capacitor bank just underneath the charger like this, it does start to receive power. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to put our normal crystals into the charger, and then after a couple of seconds, you can see at the top there, in Whaler, it tells us that it is now a charged Certus Quartz crystal. We can pull it back out, and that is how we create our own charged Certus Quartz crystals. Doesn't take too long. Thankfully, it's very quick. I think the amount of time it takes seems to be random. Some crystals take, as you can see here, a lot longer, whereas some crystals are made very, very quickly. And so, guys, what I'm going to do here real quick, I'm going to go away. I'm going to craft up quite a lot of these charged Certus Quartz crystals. We are now actually done with the Seared Bricks. So actually, 1 second before I do cut away here, let me quickly craft up a bunch of these Seared Bricks. And I think for the time being, I'm going to put this over here, I guess, because this is really the only wall that we have free. We're probably going to end up making a standard 3x3 Tinker's Construct smeltery. So let me clear out a little bit of space here. And about 220 in-game days later, I've managed to clear out a couple of blocks here for our smeltery, and so I'm going to go ahead and fill these in for a very basic one tall 3x3 smeltery that's not going to involve this block here. We'll get rid of that like so. And all we're missing here now is the controller, the tank, and also the drains. We can actually pull any liquids that we produce in the smeltery out as well, and I'm pretty sure that we've got everything we need right about here. That is how you make the tank. The controller is the exact same crafting recipe without the glass, and then finally for the drain, I think it looks something a little bit like that, and we're also going to need some faucets and a casting table that looks something a little bit like so. All the recipes are in JEI if you need them, and that's not at all what I want to do. I want those to go into my hotbar, and finally all we have to do is throw one of those down there, there, and there. The light should come on, indicating the smeltery is fully built, and then finally all we got to do is get rid of this oak wood plank here, throw down our casting table like so, faucet like that, and now guys, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go away real quick. I'm going to charge up a bunch of Certus Quartz so we've got enough to make the Emmy Chest, and I'm also going to go ahead and get some lava for the tank here so we can actually get some blood in the altar and use that to make ourselves the sticky pistons for the Inscribers, and I'll be back in a second. And not too long later, now that we've got some lava and some more charged Certus Quartz crystals, we can go ahead and throw that lava into our smeltery here. And I'm going to start by getting myself the Congealed Blood just so we can get the Inscriber going as quickly as possible, because it is going to take a little bit of time for the Inscriber to work through and get us all of the processes that we would like. Now, in order to get Congealed Blood out of the smeltery, what you have to do is you have to stand in the smeltery, but there has to be some kind of molten liquid already in the smeltery to begin with. And so what we're going to do real quick here, you know what, I will throw in, actually it's probably for the best if we throw in 2 ingots worth of molten gold, because then we can actually use that gold a little bit later on down the line to make some casts if we want to invest in some better tools. Whereas if we put in something like copper or iron, we're pretty much just wasting the copper and the iron, because there's no way for us to get it back out of the smeltery without an ingot cast. And so while we're waiting for that gold to smelt up, which is going to do very, very quickly, one other machine that we are going to have to make in today's episode is the Sag Mill, because one of the things that we're going to need, if we go back to the recipe for the Emmy Chest here real quick, if we want to make the Emmy Chest, we need to get ourselves the Emmie Terminal, which requires these logic processors. These are what we're trying to make with the Inscriber, and to make this, we need three things. We need a printed logic circuit, we need a piece of redstone, and we need one piece of printed silicon, which is made in an Inscriber with a silicon press and a piece of silicon. Now, there are two types of silicon in Feed the Beast Beyond. One is from Ender, and one is from Refined Storage, which is a mod that's very similar to Applied Energistics 2. Now, the one from Refined Storage is probably easier to make because all you have to do is smelt nether quartz, but it's more expensive in that it requires nether quartz in order to make it, whereas if we click over here onto the other one, the one from Ender, the one from Ender can be made by putting things like sand through a Sag Mill with a 50% chance of actually getting the silicon, and so approximately 2 pieces of sand will equal 1 piece of silicon, which is significantly cheaper in my opinion than turning 1 nether quartz into 1 silicon. And so we are very quickly here going to make the Sag Mill from Ender, which also works like the grindstone and like the crusher that we've got, in that we can use it to make things like crushed Certus quartz without having to go and use the grindstone every single time that we need something like that. And thankfully the recipe is super easy to make. It's 3 flint, 4 iron ingots, 1 piston, and then 1 machine chassis. I'm pretty sure we've got almost everything we need to make the machine chassis. All we need really here is iron, which I thought I had put in there, but apparently I have not. We've only got 7 ingots in there, and we are going to need a lot more. So first things first, let me grab some iron bars. Once we get the iron bars, we can very easily make the machine chassis, and then once we've done that, the piston is also super easy to do, and also the Sag Mill is fairly simple thereafter as well. So now, where do I want to put this? We could, for now, put it right about there, although we're probably going to have to move this fairly soon because I do want to put the Inscriber here as well. If the Inscriber can in fact pull power from the basic capacitor bank, we might have to use the energy acceptor that we made earlier in today's episode. We'll see. But what we'll do real quick here is we'll grab the 18 sand that we have left over in our crate, throw that in there. All that's going to turn into silicon. We might have to go and get some more sand at some point in the near future. And before we jump in there, you can see already we have started to get a couple of millibuckets worth of blood. And if we press U whilst hovering over that blood with our mouse, you can see that we can use it to make ourselves some congealed blood. Now, it says here that we need 160 millibuckets of congealed blood, which I'm fairly certain will kill us. And so, one other thing that I did when I cut away a second ago is I got some shears, I got some wool, and so what we should do really quickly here, one thing that we should have done probably earlier on in the series, is craft up a bed and sleep in it so we can actually respawn back here in the base instead of back at the spawn of the server. And so, let me go ahead and throw this thing down. For now, I guess like right there will do just fine. Do a quick sleep. It is 8:05 p.m. and so we should be able to skip through to the morning. There we go. Oh, that's what happens when you spawn in the wall. And so now all we have to do is walk over here and stand in the smeltery, and it will very slowly kill us in exchange for the blood in the smeltery. And we are going to need 2 of these congealed bloods. So we are going to need to get 160 of these millibuckets worth of blood. Thankfully, it looks like actually we won't die for the first one. Ooh, that was close. But once you've got all 160 millibuckets in the smeltery, all you have to do, make sure they're at the bottom of the smeltery, so make sure you click on the blood to make sure it's at the bottom, and then once it's at the bottom, go ahead and right click on your faucet. That's going to pull the blood out into the casting table here. I'm going to really quickly drink up on the berry juice because I'm not quite sure. I haven't played a lot of vanilla 1.10, and so I'm not quite sure if that rapid health regeneration is normal or if that's something that's added by a specific mod, but our health regenerates ridiculously quickly when we eat up to full hunger here, so it's nice. It means we're probably not going to die now actually making the second ball of congealed blood, but that's how you make congealed blood. I'm going to stand here real quick until we've got 160 millibuckets worth of blood again. Ooh, no, it's going to kill us. Okay, one second. Let's do a quick drink up. It does fill up crazy fast. That can't be vanilla, right? That cannot be like a vanilla 1.10 mechanic. But there we go. There's another 160 millibuckets worth of blood. We can go ahead and pull that out. And so now, all we are really missing in order to get ourselves the Inscriber is pistons, I think. So, let me grab some of these iron ingots. Let's grab some wood, and let's grab some cobblestone. We've already got the redstone in our inventory, and so now all we need to do, come on over here, quickly craft those up into planks, and then use those planks to make some of these pistons, which have Oh, no, they've gone back in here. Okay, I see. For some reason, when you shift-click recipes out of here, it goes back into the small crate, which is not necessarily the best. It's quite nice when I want to get rid of something. For example, if I put some cobblestone in here, and then I hold down shift and press left-click on this cobblestone, it goes back into the small storage crate instead of going into my inventory. But when I finish crafting something, I kind of want it to go back down into my inventory, which makes it a bit of a pain to deal with. But let's go back around now to the Inscriber, this guy over here. And so, let's see about this. Do we have what it takes to make 2 pistons? We do indeed. We can make more than enough pistons. And so now, all we got to do, combine those pistons up with the Congealed Blood to get our sticky pistons. And now, all we are missing is iron and 1 Flux crystal, which I'm fairly certain we have in our inventory. We do indeed. And that is going to get us the Inscriber. Nice. So now, let me go ahead and quickly check here. First of all, I would like to know if the Sag Mill retains its redstone flux value. It does indeed. That's really useful. It means that we didn't just waste 100,000 redstone flux, and it also actually retains its inventory. You can see we got 10 silicon from that 18 sand, making us just a little bit lucky. On average, we should have got 9, but we got 10, which is nice. And so now, throw down the Inscriber. The Inscriber does actually get power. You can see at the top there in Whaler, it's got 3,000 out of 3,000 redstone flux. And so now, what I'm going to do whilst we work on some other stuff is I'm going to start with the logic press. So the logic press is the one that we're going to need the most of. It's the golden press. And for this, we need 4 aluminium ingots or aluminum ingots, 4 gold ingots, and then 1 block of iron. All super easy stuff. I'm fairly certain that we should have some aluminium in here, although we do have a lot less than I bargained for. We might actually have to go and do a little bit more mining to get some more of this aluminium here, because we need 4 aluminium for the calculation press. We need 4 aluminium for the logic press. And we also need 4 aluminium for the silicon press as well. And so we might have to go do a little bit more mining very soon here. But for now, let me go ahead and grab, we've already got the iron that we need, although we'll grab some more just to be on the safe side. We'll grab about 16 gold for the time being, so we can make about 16 of those logic processors, although we don't quite have that much silicon. That should be fine. And we're going to go ahead and quickly, first of all, craft up the logic press, which is going to look something a little bit like this block of iron, and then pretty much everything else like so. We can put the logic press in the top, we can put the gold in the middle, and that is very slowly going to work through the gold and turn it into a printed logic circuit. Now, the problem with the default Inscriber, the Inscriber that comes with Applied Energistics 2, is that you can only put 1 item in each of these 3 slots at a time, which means if you want to make a lot of processors, you have 2 options. You have to either manually sit here and put in each golden ingot 1 at a time, or you can put like a hopper on top and a hopper on the bottom to go ahead and put in and pull out all of the stuff 1 at a time. Thankfully, later on down the line, there is a mod called AE2 Stuff, which adds the advanced Inscriber, which allows us to put more items in than just the 1 at a time, which is going to be quite nice. But for now, we'll go ahead and throw those in there, and I think we'll also quickly see about whipping up another hopper. We should already have everything we need to craft that. We do indeed. We'll get a chest, and very simply, boom, boom, and boom. Everyone knows how to make vanilla hoppers, and so kapow and kapow. That should go ahead and craft all those up. Thankfully, we can stack the printed logic circuits over there on the left. But one thing that I have made, the mistake I've made here, is that the Inscriber is kind of side sensitive, and so if you input from the top, that's going to try and put the items in the top slot. And so because we want the middle slot, we want to put the hopper right here, shift right click onto the side of the Inscriber, and now if we put the gold in there, that is going to put it in the correct slot. The same works for the bottom as well. I think if you put in an item or a hopper or a pipe going to the bottom, it will pump into the bottom. And I think if you want to pull out, you have to pull out from this side where kind of the item looks like it is inside of the GUI. And while we're waiting for those to go, they're actually going a lot quicker than I thought they would. We should probably also make the silicon press here as well. So again, 1 more block worth of iron, and pretty much the exact same process like so. That's only going to get us 6 silicon, which is not really as much as I would have liked. And so, what I might have to do here, real quick, what I'm going to do, I'm going to wait for this gold one to finish. Once the gold one has finished, I'm going to take that out. I'm going to put in the silicon press. The silicon press works in the exact same way. You put in silicon either from Ender.io or from refined storage, and it's going to turn it into the printed silicon from Applied Energistics. And then all you got to do to make the actual full processor is put in 1 of these printed logic circuits, 1 piece of silicon, and then 1 piece of redstone in the middle like so. The Inscriber will then combine all of those together into the logic processor that we need for pretty much all of the crafting recipes within Applied Energistics 2. And so, what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to go away real quick. I'm going to get some more sand. I'm going to Sag Mill that sand into some more silicon. I'm going to put all of the silicon we have right now into the Inscriber using the same method that we used just now. And I'll be back in a second once I've turned all 12 of my logic circuits into logic processors. And again, not too long later, we now have all 12 of our logic processors, and so I'm fairly certain that we should now be able to actually fully craft the Emmy Chest. So most of the stuff here is actually super easy. We've got 2 glass, 2 iron, 1 of these flux crystals, which we should be able to make now really easily. We've got the charged Certus quartz, we've got the redstone, and we've got a bunch of spare nether quartz over here. Let us quickly throw down. That's not charged. This is charged. Let's throw down like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Step back. That should get us 6 of the flux crystals, which I think should be more than enough, but if it's not, we can always go ahead and make some more fairly easily. And now we've got that. I'm not quite sure why we just got the achievement Unnatural. Create flux crystals. I'm fairly certain that we did that earlier today, but that's fine. And so now we're going to go ahead and make some of these Emmy glass cables. These are made with 2 more of those flux crystals and 1 quartz fiber, which is made with some glass and some Certus quartz. I did go ahead and grind up some Certus quartz in my grindstone a little while ago now. And once we got that, we have almost everything apart from the Emmie Terminal to make the Emmy Chest. I am going to quickly clear out a little bit of inventory space here because my inventory is becoming a little bit of a mess. And by a little bit, I mean just a massive mess. So we'll get rid of some of this stuff. We'll do some more work with the smeltery a little bit later on down the line. But this is the hard part. The Emmie Terminal requires a formation core, an annihilation core, a bright illuminated panel, and then also the logic processor. Both the formation core and the annihilation core require logic processors of their own, as well as nether quartz and flux dust in the case of the annihilation core, and then the formation core requires flux dust and a Certus quartz crystal. And so I'm fairly certain that we should have almost all of that stuff ready to go. We are going to need the flux dust, though, and the flux dust is made very simply by either putting a flux crystal in the Sag Mill like this, or in the grindstone. And I'm pretty sure that it will also work in the crusher, although I have not tried it. Let me see real quick. Does that work? It does not. So you can't put it in the crusher, but you can put it in the grindstone or the Sag Mill. We're going to use the Sag Mill just because we have it over here, and it doesn't require us to turn the crank in order to get it to work. And once we've got 2 of those, we can now go ahead and make both the formation and annihilation core. Thankfully, we do get 2 of them, which is going to come in useful because we are going to need another one of each of these probably early in the next episode. And now for the illuminated panel, we need 2 glowstone, 1 redstone, 1 iron ingot, and then 3 quartz glass, which is made with Certus quartz and glass. Fairly easy stuff. So let us go ahead and craft that up. I cannot believe the one thing we are missing is iron. Let me grab one of those. Now we've got way too much iron in there. We've got 2 stacks in that chest, but it should really be over in the iron chest. There we go. That gets us 3 illuminated panels. Again, that is going to come in useful in the beginning of next episode. And now we can go ahead and craft all of those up into Emmy terminals and then use that to craft up the Emmy chest. All we're missing is a little bit of this Emmy glass cable, and then also apparently more iron ingots. Yeah, of course we are. Let me grab 2 more of those, and kaboom. So now we've got ourselves an Emmy chest. And again, I'm going to see here if we can actually put this down directly next to a power source. We totally can. It says at the top there, it's got 80 out of 80 redstone flux, which is not a lot of power, and that is going to cause some issues with the Emmy chest that will become apparent when we set it up. But you'll see right now, it doesn't work. We can't open it. In fact, down in the chat, it says Emmy chest cannot read storage cell, and that is because there is no storage cell in the Emmy chest. And so what we need to do now is make ourselves a storage cell, which come in a couple of different sizes. You can get a 1K, a 4K, a 16K, or a 64K storage cell. These are basically just bigger and bigger versions of the same thing. We're going to go with the 1K storage cell because it's early in the game, and also because storage cells contain 2 different attributes. They've got bytes and types, and you can see as we go up, although the number of bytes increases, the number of types doesn't. And so the larger cells are better for if you have a lot of one item. For example, if you have 1,000 or 10,000 cobblestone, a larger cell might be better because what 0 out of 63 types means is that the cell can hold up to 63 different items. And so different items are like glass, formation cores, buckets, energy acceptors, and so we are more than likely going to fill up on types before we fill up on bytes because we've got a lot of items as opposed to a lot of a few items, if that makes sense. And so later on down the line, once we start getting thousands or tens of thousands of iron ingots or cobblestone or anything like that, we can start looking into the bigger cells like the 4K, 16K, and 64K. But for the time being, we're going to go for types over bytes, and we're going to go with, at least for now, 1K Emmy storage cell. In the future, we'll make just multiple, probably 1K Emmy storage cells. These things, super easy to make again. 2 quartz glass, 3 redstone, 3 iron ingots, and 1 Emmy storage component. Again, there's the logic processor with 4 Certus quartz and 4 redstone. redstone, super easy stuff. We can craft that up nice and simply. And then I'm pretty sure we've got almost everything apart from, yeah, the Certus Quartz dust. So let me quickly get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. Throw those into the Sag Mill. Those are very quickly going to get turned into Certus Quartz dust. And once we've got all 5 of that Certus Quartz dust, we can come back over. Do we have enough glass? We do. We got 5 glass, which I think is 1 more than we need. And then finally, we can go ahead and craft up the Emmy storage component. But you know, I'm just going to take like a stack of iron because we are always missing iron. But there we go. That gets us the 1K storage component, which we can now put into the Emmy chest. And so now we can go ahead and open this up at the top, and we can put all of our items into this Emmy chest. Pretty cool stuff. Now you'll notice that if I try and put a lot of items in, for example, you can use spacebar, you can hold down spacebar and press the left mouse button to easily move a lot of items at once. If I try and put all of these items in here at once, it's going to kind of turn off, and that's because you'll see at the top, kind of, it's flashing in Whaler. The amount of power in the Emmy chest isn't enough to put in all of these items at the same time. And also, how are we doing on bytes? We're doing okay on bytes. I'm going to hold off on putting all this cobblestone in just yet, because all this cobblestone is going to take up a large amount of bytes that we don't have. And so instead, I'm going to go ahead and pull out all of this stuff, and then slowly, well, somewhat slowly, try and put it all in here, because if we go too fast, it does kind of mess up with the chest. Thankfully, in the future, we won't be pulling out this much stuff. It's kind of just the initial putting of all of our stuff into here. And I think we might have run out of space already. No, we haven't. Not quite yet, although we are getting surprisingly close. We're at 57 out of 63 already. We might want to start focusing on things that we're going to need. For example, I don't think I'm going to need dandelions or black shimmering mushrooms or even flax seeds in my Emmy chest at any time soon. If I want those, I can go back over to this crate. Now, there are a few limitations of the Emmy chest. The good things about it are that we can search what we want. So if I want redstone, I can go ahead and search that. I am going to go ahead and sort by number of items instead of by item name, and I'm also going to change this. I was not going to change it to tall centered, but tall centered kind of works. So what I was going to change is search box, but it's already in auto mode. I like auto mode. Auto mode means you can just start typing as soon as the chest is opened to find what you're after. Now, on its own, this thing is not the best. It basically just works like a chest that runs on power and allows you to store a lot of items in one slot. You can see the redstone doesn't take up like 17 slots. It's a lot easier to navigate everything that's here. And again, I'm going to shrink this down because it's covering up the oh, no, that's fine, because the JEI thing's over here. I'm going to go ahead and remove, like, the sword and the tools here, because these things all take up one type, but don't take up many bytes, and so they are kind of wasting a little bit of space, and we probably will at some point. We'll try and, like, expand this Emmy system very quickly. I do want stuff like these crystals in here. I do probably want the Seared Brick and the Conduit Binder and the Canola, and at least a little bit of cobblestone, even if not that much, and I'll also take those relays, and the manual can stay in there. I think everything else that's in here is probably fine. Yeah, we'll leave everything else in there for now. One thing that I did want to do in today's episode that I'm not going to do now just to kind of save on time is I wanted to craft up an Emmy crafting terminal and then put that crafting terminal on top of this Emmy chest, because what the crafting terminal allows us to do is pretty much the same stuff. It allows us to view what's in the Emmy chest, but it also has a crafting table built into it. Now, the recipe looks fairly simple. It's another Emmy terminal, which we have the items to make, but it also requires a crafting table, which is not particularly hard, and a calculation processor. And the calculation processor is a little expensive. Not only does it require the calculation press, which we don't have enough aluminium to make, it also requires a pure Certus Quartz crystal, which is made by dropping a Certus Quartz seed made from Certus Quartz dust and sand into a puddle of water and waiting for it to grow. And waiting for it to grow without growth crystals takes forever. And so next episode, we'll start out, we'll make ourselves some of these Certus Quartz seeds, we'll make some crystal growth accelerators to speed up the growth of the pure Certus Quartz crystals, and we'll make ourselves an Emmy crafting terminal. And what that's going to allow us to do is craft from within our chest. And so we can just come over here, we can just see all of our stuff, and if we need to craft something, we can just shift click the items in from the Emmy chest itself without having to get all the items and then shift click it in separately. It's going to make life so much easier. But with that, guys, I'm going to end today's episode of Feed the Beast Beyond. There, as always, if you did enjoy the video and you haven't done so already, be sure to hit subscribe. It's free, and hit that little bell to be notified as soon as new videos go out. And hey, why not check out one of the 2 videos on screen right now? I personally really like the one on the left, but that's just my opinion. And I'll see you guys next time.